Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode,
the user has learned a jargon. We see it all the time. Someone, somewhere used a technical word in this guy's hearing and now he inserts it into conversation every chance he gets. Usually they use it so poorly it's easy to tell that this term is out of place and infer what they actually mean. Sometimes though, I just got off an hour-long phone call where this user doggedly hung on to their description of the problem, including a jargon phrase. It made sense in context. So I spent 50 minutes trying to troubleshoot a problem that didn't exist. When they finally described what was actually happening, it was an 8-minute fix. Thanks for reminding me to never use a technical term within earshot of a client, I guess. Story 2. IT people makes the worst users. This is my humble pie moment after thinking it was only happening to end users. I'm part of my company's IT department as a product owner and am usually the guy who makes IT and business talk to each other. We are using an app to book our desk when we come into the office during the week that is accessible on phone and via web portal. I was one of the tester for the app and kept in touch with the development team. Since the app is fairly new, it is still experiencing some childhood illnesses and from time to time I have to log a ticket. Last week, I had a change in schedule and decided to go via the web portal on my laptop to make the change. I click on the shortcut I saved to go on the portal and there's a problem. The portal shows I haven't reserved any days. I open the app on my phone and there it is, my booked days are displayed. Being a good colleague, I send a message to the dev team to tell them that I think there is a problem with the web portal. They reply back that all looks normal. We try the usual troubleshoot. Clear your history and cookies, try an incognito mode, restart your machine. Nothing works. They look in the back end, it looks like my data is all there. Nobody understand where the problem is. Until someone looks at my laptop and says, dude, you went to the UAT portal on your laptop. There it was. A beautiful problem was between the chair and the screen bug. I went and modified my shortcut and bought a round on coffee to the dev team as an apology. Sorry to the offshore guys, there should be an app to transfer apology coffees offshore. Eat your humble pie, own your mistakes, and don't make them twice. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you to all the tech support in the world to make things work for everyone. Story 3. We have done this dance before. Do you want me to show you step by step or you want to take my word for it this time? Okay, step by step it is. Long. This tale comes from the private sector. It is an old tale and one that I enjoy retelling. Back in the day when Win 7 was the golden child and 8/8.1 was the relative we didn't talk about at Thanksgiving, I had a repeat customer. One that. Let's just say he refused to believe a word I said unless I meticulously showed him the truth. Each and every time, it would be a stupid simple issue, and each time he would refuse to pay me until I did these complicated fixes. Each time I would recreate his problem before them, deploy my simple fix, and then try very hard to show him the problem was resolved. In this situation he was having a simple CMOS battery issue. Desktop would lose the time when he unplugged it. I told him how to resolve it on his own over the phone, saying he could buy a $5 CR2032 from Absolute Evil and simply replace it himself. I trusted in his ability to do that, and that was about it. In true fashion, he did not believe me. He was certain that this computer had a corrupted BIOS and needed a BIOS update. Now remember, this was back in the days where BIOS updates were not quick 2 to 10 minute ordeals. These were the days where you had to DL the correct BIOS based off of your MOBO number/revision number, mount it onto a bootable flash drive, and configure the BIOS to boot off of the flash drive. Don't forget to set it back to C drive when you are done. Also, if your flash drive had a defect in it, more than likely the BIOS update would fail and you would brick the MOBO. So I explained to him to just try my solution first. I told him if he made me walk into Absolute Evil and have to interact with blue vest wearing demons, I would charge him $50 for the CMOS battery replacement. So I have the CMOS battery in my luxurious 97 Chevy 4-door sedan, watching as the odometer ticked past 175k. I make sure to stop at 3 places along the way first. I make sure he has to wait longer than 30 m for me to arrive. Less than 10 m drive. I show up and do the routine test. Turn off PC, unplug, plug back in, and turn it back on. Yup. Time reset to midnight 2009. I turn off, unplug, replace CMO's battery, plug back in, and turn back on. I set the timer using the Windows time setting thingamajig in the talesfromyourserver, and do a full shutdown again followed by removal of power cord. I only use the most detailed technical terms in my job. On restart, the PC has the correct date and time. $SU equals stubborn user or Wilford Brimley. $me equals me or Roy. $me, yup, like I thought. Simple CMO's battery. $SU, it's going to come back again as soon as you leave. $me, no, it won't. Unless that CMO's battery is total garbage from absolute evil, then it should last a few years. $SU, how do I know it's even fixed now? $me, wah. But it's holding the time? I took a moment to demonstrate how it was working again. $me, see, it holds the time with a full shutdown and unplugging the cord. $SU, so this issue is permanently fixed and will never happen again? $me, kind of? It is a battery. Eventually, the battery will fail and you will have to do this again. However, by that time I would hope you are replacing that unit. $SU, look. I understand you have seen similar issues before, but I have done my research on this. I know what I am talking about. $me, I mean yes, if your PC was having other symptoms, you would have a point. I instantly realized my mistake and quickly added. $me, by other issues, I mean non-email related issues. I took the Windex out of his sales. $SU, no, I still just don't trust this. It's too simple. $me, Sue, look, $Sue. We have done this dance 4 times already. I can go through and prove to you that the simple fix worked, but I will also charge you $20 more. Or you can simply take my word for it and trust that the fix I implemented worked. So I spent the next 10 minutes showing how the issue was the battery. I removed the good battery, telling him I removed the good one to put the bad one back in, and did the dance 3 times. Each time it failed to hold the time. I informed him I was putting the good battery in and demonstrated how it kept the time after 3 consecutive restarts/unplugs. $SU, okay. You have shown that it is holding the time, but I still do. I didn't let him finish. $me, if you want me to update your BIOS, I will charge you $350 up front. I left with the old, dead, CMO's battery and a nice $70 in my pocket. Guess who went out and bought the brand new hit game BioShock Infinite with that money? This guy. Story 4. Good thing we have backup. Or do we? Medium. Let's start off by saying that I generally don't have a high opinion of my various predecessors. It could be because they've sometimes been arseholes, but it's usually because they don't really know what they're doing. They've either fallen into their roles, or they have arrogantly believed they're king shit and are too good to research, develop, and reach out to professional networks, and use consultants when necessary. So recently I've been doing this gig where I have taken over a recently retired longtimer who never had any real training or experience in IT but sort of fell into it. A real nice guy, had a good management vibe, but didn't really know how to run IT systems. On the surface, all the stuff was working. But scratch a bit, and you'll find a critical production system running on a Windows 7 desktop behind a random desk. Or an undocumented mail server with an unpatched legacy OS that had all ports punched through the consumer-grade firewall. So after taking on the job, I estimate there is literally 12 months worth of triaging the shit into piles to work out what will break first, what will cause the most user drama, and what is the biggest cybersecurity risk. And then working through remediation based on that triaging. I'm slowly getting through it, and bringing along my inherited staff for the ride. So today it's a server that serves both downloadable ISOs on a Samba share for convenience, and a critical application. Let's consider that one for a moment. Documentation exists for the machine, which is great. Backup is a hack job and untested, but seems to be enough to get out of strife. The hardware is an antique Intel rack mount server. So it's better than the usual white box we have, but not as good as a HP or Dell server, and certainly no maintenance. Disks are a hodgepodge of consumer and SMB grade SATA units, but at least the critical application and OS is on RAID, even if the ISOs are not. Goes in the short term but not immediate pile. But let's scratch the surface a bit. That's RAID 0, thanks. Yikes. On closer inspection, there are 2 RAID 0 arrays of 1 disk each. Backup doesn't include the critical application. There's actually no backup of it. Ever. But we do have backups of the ISOs that can be downloaded again. Those striped, critical, unbacked up disks are consumer SATA disks, over 15 years old, and they're actually recycled from another machine. One of the other disks is actually formatted with NTFS. In a Linux box. The application has integration with AD. And the service account is the domain administrator. And the config file has no encryption and a plaintext password. And a Samba share is giving it to everyone in the office. So this gets upgraded to the holy shit pile. Cue a brief planning session with the team. Immediate backup rectification, give it a test, then we can split the application out from the shares and put it in some virtual infrastructure. Then we can address the security issues. The shares will move across to a cheap but modern NAS. While having this discussion, users alert that the application has gone offline. Both RAID arrays crashed and the OS has crapped itself over. While we were literally talking about it. Well, fuck. 6 hours later, I have it running again. The top end of each array was trashed. Luckily, that was Linux swap space on one array and clear space on the other. But it still caused the OS to panic and took a while to rectify and validate. Backup is running on the unprotected volumes, and once tested, it'll have a P2V migration onto some reasonably modern hardware while we deal with proper remediation. But that's tomorrow's job. It did make me curious enough to do a full and granular audit of the backup situation. It's not pretty. Most backup is just tarballing Linux servers onto themselves, and some basic Windows file replication with robocopy. And that's only on about 1/3 of systems, the others don't even have that. We're perhaps really running backup on about 4 TB worth of stuff. Out of about 100 TB. And I use the term backup in the loosest possible sense. A few weeks later, I cut a PO for about $100,000 worth of backup solution to upgrade 2 USB hard disks. Never waste a good emergency.